I've been very fortunate to have some new opportunity come up at a number of times in my lifetime. And while I'm not ready yet to talk about legacies and things like that, it would be difficult to pick one of those opportunities over another. Nothing will ever beat combat time in your attention and what you did and the pride you took in being able to do a good job. And that was true in World War II. The squadron I was in the Pacific for a year, and then later on in Korea for a year. And you're very proud of those things. You're working with a big team at that time. I was able out of Korea to come here and go through test pilot training, as it was called back then, TPT in those days instead of TPS as it is now. Out of that, when I was proud of the work we did here, because we worked out a lot of bugs on some of those early airplanes that were very, very important. So you take great pride in having made the airplanes better and safer as they went to the fleet for the Navy and Marine Corps. Then later, that led then into a selection for the space program. It was a very interesting time to be here, though, as a test pilot, because we were testing a lot of the new jet aircraft, some of them supersonic, like the Crusader, but still using the old-style weapon systems and machine guns and bombs and rockets and so on. The Navy, well, nobody had gone to the remote weapons at that time, the guided missiles and things like that. So we were here at a very interesting time to check out all that sort of armament on the new airplanes. Project Bullet was back in those days in the 50s, there was a lot more competition for records than there is now. And the Navy and Marine Corps took great pride in the records they had established with new aircraft, and the Air Force did the same thing. And I had done a lot of the test work here, the armament test work on the F-8U, the Crusader, which really was the first of our honest-to-goodness level flight supersonic airplanes that really could operate out there in that Mach 1 plus area. And so I'd done a lot of flying in that airplane, and I knew that we could take back the cross-country speed record if we wanted to. I had to refuel from old tanker airplanes that we had, the AJ, that were prop planes that could only get a load of fuel up for you to about 25,000 feet. So at the end of each of the three legs, I'd be up about 50 or 51,000, have to come down and slow down to the tanker speed and rendezvous and plug in, get a load of fuel, detach, go back into supersonic, go back into afterburner again, supersonic flight. And so there's a lot of time was wasted on that because we didn't have jet tankers at that time, but we still were able to break the record. And I think it was LA to New York in 3 hours and 23 minutes. And the official record, I think, was 3 hours, 23 minutes, 8.4 seconds, if I remember rightly. But it was a lot of fun. It was a great airplane. I really loved to fly that airplane. It's very valuable training. It's a graduate level training, of course, and very specialized. I think Bob Gilruth, who directed the manned space program at that time, the old first Space Task Group, as it was called, said when we came in that we were the ones who had recent high-performance aircraft experience. While it wouldn't relate directly to space flight, it would be the nearest thing we could get to it. We were accustomed to working in small places and unusual conditions, and several of us in that first group had combat time, so we had sort of proven ourselves, I guess, of being capable of that. I was fortunate. I felt that those were the I was one of the kind they were looking for, and I was just glad to be accepted. There we had Al Shepard's suborbital flight up and down, and then Gus Grissom made another suborbital flight. Then I made the first orbital flight. And I felt once we had accomplished that, and the president had announced that we had a plan to go to the moon, and that we were going to do it within this decade, and we all thought that was an enormous effort if that was going to happen. It was an international competition at that time we saw as being very important. And I think the rest of the people did in this country also. I think that's one reason why there was such an outpouring of feeling after some of those early flights, was people felt we had really been behind the Russians or the Soviets in that area. And we were coming back and going to do well, and we did. If there's one thing I think we've learned during this 100th anniversary year and look back And one thing that is quite obvious is the value of naval aviation and being able to project major power, very major power, anywhere in the world. And that need continues. We may be into globalization and worldwide interest and internets and all of that, but we haven't yet learned to live together, and wars unfortunately keep breaking out. And so we want the best capability to conduct those wars and protect our interests we possibly can have, and that's where the projection of naval aviation is invaluable. The need and the training for it that is here at Patuxent in TPS is that has changed along with all of this electronic warfare and remote control, and there'll be other advances, I'm sure, in the future, and they'll keep up with them. And I think the need for naval aviation is as great now as it's ever been.